I don't like Wicked Act 2. I've seen it on stage. I think it's rushed, crams way too much in for such a short runtime, shoehorns some painful Wizard of Oz connections, it has some dreadful messaging, and it loses much of the story's political and thematic concerns. Ultimately, it leaves the show on a bit of a sour note. So, coming into the second part of the film, Wicked for Good, for me, there is an uphill battle. They had to make what I think is a quite bad second part into something better. And honestly, they do have the foundation for that. For Good is longer than its stage counterpart. It adds a couple new songs. It has the benefit of hindsight. It can build on what the show did right and wrong. But it also has to compete with the beloved Wicked Part 1 and satisfy a year-long wait between installments. Does it manage to live up to the hype and the scrutiny? And I'm here to tell you, no, it does not. I didn't like it very much. And I feel very bad because I wanted to like this one quite a bit.
Same. After a year, I was thinking to myself, are they going to improve some things into the second act, as you were saying? Because I do have problems with the second act, trying to connect so many Wizard of Oz ideas into this. And this. There comes a time when I say a movie is a bit too long. I can sit for a movie. Maybe a 4.5 if I'm feeling too happy on that particular night.
Too happy. Too happy for your own good.
Too happy. This, with the pacing, oh, I struggled.
Yeah, I went to the cinema to watch a double bill. I watched part 1 and 2 back
Which
to
is
back.
insane, by the way.
Thank
5 hours.
Thank you very much.
Five.
Yeah. There's literally 13 minutes in between them. They put up this little timer. It's pretty much the size of an interval in a stage show. And, it certainly is a choice for me to do that. The thing is that splitting 2 acts of a show into 2 films, instead of it being the second half of the story, the second film has to serve as its own narrative, its own beginning,
Yes.
middle, and end. It needs to reintroduce every single element, the stakes, while also coming up with a satisfying conclusion for every character and plotline. And thinking about the first film, it's got a lot going on, and a lot of the stuff doesn't get the attention it deserves. And god damn it, this one introduces even more things. And it's just like, hey, yeah, this is also a factor. And you just kind of have to run along with it. You've got to keep up. And if you don't keep up, things will and do fall to the wayside. As good as the songs are, I don't feel like they whisk you away in the same way that the part 1 songs do. The part 1 songs, as much as I have criticisms for that film, part of you just kind of doesn't really care because the songs are great. This time, it's much more of a struggle.
This is the Out of Time Film Podcast, where your hosts Tom and John discuss everything from blockbuster films to TV and games like there's no tomorrow.
They're stretching a lot of things for part 2, and that's debatable when it comes to 2-part films. When it comes to this, it's stage production only 2.5 hours, I think, and it just comes to a point where the structure just feels so messy in part 2. There's a lot going on. I don't know. I'm so conflicted about it. They're stretching a lot of things. That's what I'm trying to say. They're stretching a lot of things I don't like.
I think the theatre kid in me is in a little bit of denial right now because the second half of the musical is an hour, I believe. So we've added an extra 90 minutes or so. Surely that fixes it, right? And the fact that it doesn't is such a shame. The first half is a snowball. It's all building and building and building, and everything is piling on top of each other. The tensions in Oz, the tensions between the characters, and that leads us to Defying Gravity. That leads us to the massive explosion. And part 2 of the musical, Act 2, is the release. Everything's hitting the fan. But this film, because it's its own beast rather than just being second half of a story, I don't think you feel that as much. Like, this one is darker, and it does feel that the stakes are higher. It kind of has to be less comedic than the first film. I've heard people say that the performances are more reined in on this one, and I do think that, especially after watching one after the other, there's a kind of spark that almost is lost in the performances. I do think that these actors are still perfect in their roles. But last year, our video on Wicked Part 1 was fairly controversial, and you got loads of people who disagreed with us, and, we thought it was a fun time, great music and performances, but lackluster cinematography, lighting, largely pretty over stuff,
Where's the colorist? Where's the colorist of the film? Have they kidnapped the colorist? Where's the vibrancy? This is the one thing that we tackled last year. Where's the color grading?
Yeah.
The life and soul just got sucked away into
this is Oz, dude. This is Oz. It needs to... Now, I will say, I think it looks better than the first film in the color department.
Are you sure?
I'm sure. I watched them back to back. I'm definitely sure. It's not as washed out. There's less backlighting. I do think they took some of the color criticisms on board. Not that that fixes it at all. This film has another big problem, and it is CGI. My God, there's so much CGI. One of the songs is No Good Deed, which is a banger. This is Elphaba's big statement of, I'll be wicked if you want me to be. And the way that they decide to do this is she's just flying around in her castle, surrounded by a bunch of CGI dust swirling and winds and monkeys. It's so nothing. It just looks like Cynthia Erivo on a green screen and just twirling around. And the song is pretty well done, but you just kind of think to yourself, this is so dull. And there are a lot of scenes with flying and with animals, and a lot of the time the lighting is fake. This looks and feels so awful. I know these films were shot at the same time, so we really can't expect this one to be much better than the first one in that department. But it is a massive shame that that's all we get. Incredibly distracting and for good. The literal title of the film, that song, which is a fantastic song, they shoot it like you shoot a conversation. Jon M, shot, reverse shot. That's all he does with that beautiful, emotional piece.
We can do better. We can do better.
We genuinely can.
It just didn't feel as dreamy. Because part one does have kind of that dreamy feel to it, like the dance sequence at the party, and that feels beautiful. That was a really beautiful moment. Whereas in this, as you said, it's a shot reverse shot. You can do so much more. Just do something else.
The thing is, in the stage show, they're just stood there singing to each other.
Oh, well, okay.
I think that's the idea that they're going for here. But as I will expand on later, being accurate to the stage show isn't always the right thing to do. But going back to last year, we had so many different comments that were just like, you're trying to be different. This is just rage bait, all that great stuff. And that's fine. You know, people can think what they want to think. But one of the comments we got a lot is, you clearly have no idea what happens in part 2. Just you wait.
Oh, yeah.
And
they got him as about that. Like, you don't know the lore.
Exactly,
you don't know the
exactly.
lore.
Yeah, like, oh, you're going to be proven wrong next year. And in the year since that video, I have now seen the stage show when it came to Manchester. And I did mention I would be in the video. And yeah, it was pretty good. But those comments that said that the play would fix the issues, that's not how it works, honey.
No.
Part 1 isn't one half of a story. It's not act 1 of a play. It's still an entire film, beginning, middle, and end. And all my points still stand. There were pointless characters. It was a bit long. It didn't go deep enough into its themes. It looked like shit. Was it faithful to the play? Extremely. But that doesn't make it work in every way. And the play is massively flawed. And I liked part 1, but I do think its reputation given by some as the best musical adaptation is a bit ridiculous. Especially when stuff like Matilda the Musical exists in the same decade. But to me, that's the bar. But anyway, all this said, we got a lot of comments. People were like, you'll eat your words when part 2 comes out. And people swore that part 2 would change everything. Particularly the video that maybe we got the most comments on, the short about Fiyero being a pointless character. Part 2 does not... I still hate him. He's pointless.
Did they do something to Jonathan Bailey's eyes? Because that's what really distracted me in part 2. Did they do something to his eyes?
They give him a very small amount of eyeliner.
Oh, that's why it's different.
Yeah.
It was just distracting because I was comparing that to the Jurassic World one that he was in. I just don't remember his eyes being... Does he have green eyes? Because that was the one thing that was distracted me. I don't know, but this is like the only thing that was a critique for me. It was like, did they do something to Jonathan Bailey's eyes? Did they do something?
You're just getting lost in his dreamy eyes the whole film.
Yeah, but Jonathan Bailey, Ferrero, he doesn't do anything to the story. He doesn't really serve the narrative.
In this film, he just serves as driving a wedge. He just serves as a man for Glinda and Elphaba to fight over. And I hate that shit.
Yeah.
Those two characters are poised to have a brilliant ideological battle, you know, that they genuinely have so much conflict between each other. And yet the film chooses to stay faithful to the play by making it just they're angry because they both love the same man. And I think that it's so disappointing that that's what it comes to.
It's an awkward love triangle as well. It just doesn't...
Yeah.
I think it's just weird that they decided to have that as the main conflict of the story, whereas there was a brilliant idea from part 1 about Alphaba's and Galinda's ideological approach, you know, to the world and Oz, you know, how they can save Oz. That was brilliant. But then coming to this, it's just like, oh, they're just fighting over Jonathan Bailey.
Which is fair enough, everyone.
Which is fair enough, which I understand. But for this movie, come on, you can do so much better. And then you can't just change the stage production. With Wizard of Oz, trying to interject that into the story, it just feels so forced.
I feel like this is the spoiler point. Wizard of Oz shoehorn. One of the biggest things is that Fiyero is the Scarecrow. Do you get it? Because he sings about not having a brain and being brainless, and now he's the Scarecrow
Did he say
actually...
that in the first movie?
Yeah, in Dancing Through Life, he says, life's more painless when you're brainless. his whole thing is that he doesn't really care, and then now he's in love with the Wicked Witch, and it just, yeah, and then Bok. You remember Bok, right? You remember the Munchkin? He's the Tin
Yeah,
Man, John. He's the
yeah.
Tin Man.
He doesn't
And
have a heart.
you remember that little
Yeah,
lion cub?
yeah,
Remember the
yeah,
lion cub from the first movie?
yeah, yeah.
He's the fucking like cowardly lion. And
No,
Nessa Rose, she gets crushed by a house almost off screen. I'm gonna
That's crazy.
cry.
Off screen, that's crazy. That's crazy to an integral character. And also, Alva's
Yes,
reaction to his sister's death, like, oh yeah, my sister
that
died.
is a shame.
You could have expanded upon that, and then it just glosses over. She never gets mentioned again. Her shoes, well, of course, the shoes. It's just the shoes that just gets mentioned.
Yeah.
And
Oh my god.
guys, you could have changed that. You could have changed that whole thing. It feels so forced. It doesn't really serve the story. It doesn't work. It just doesn't work.
It's come to the point where I think this film is a worse second film than Act 2 of the play is a bad Act 2. And I hate Act 2 of the play, but this just makes it so much more insulting by adding so much more. Nessa gets about 3 scenes before she's crushed by a house. And she barely gets any scenes in the first part either. And then we're supposed to sell her as this Wicked Witch of the East.
Which she isn't really.
Yeah, like barely, man. I do have to say credit where it's due. In the stage play, there is this awful bit where Elphaba uses the Grimoire to make Nessa Rose walk, and Nessa's like, wow, I finally get to be happy. That shit sucks. And for this film, obviously they have cast an actor who is in a wheelchair, and they're not just going to make her walk, so they make her fly instead. It's such a better message. It's such a better, I'm thankful they fixed that. But what they didn't fix is the inclusion of Dorothy in this story. I feel so strongly about this point. I'm going to try and remain calm. The fact of the matter is, you can't just introduce a whole character, not show her face once, not give her a single interaction with any of the people. You can't just throw her in there as such an integral part, having killed 2 major characters and going on an adventure with 2 others that the villains exploit in their plans to kill Elphaba. You can't just expect us to be like, oh yeah, Wizard of Oz.
That's Dorothy.
Oh, I know it. Yeah, like that's narratively that doesn't work. It doesn't work here. This is the thing. You want to be faithful to the stage show. I get it. But really? You're going to have all these plot threads tied up by a character that we don't know. We don't know this iteration of Dorothy. Wizard of Oz as a story isn't the same thing as this. In the Wizard of Oz, Oz is a metaphor for Dorothy's brain coming to terms with her trauma. This is an expression of her own imagination. That's the whole point of the Wizard of Oz. But in Wicked, Oz has its own lore. It has its own history. You can't just plonk Dorothy in there and expect us to go along. You've got to expand on this version of her. But they didn't. They literally had the chance to expand on what the musical...
Can I just say, it just felt like a gob shito. Dorothy was just there.
Fuck you, John. Jesus Christ.
I'm sorry, it just feels like that.
You're not wrong.
Like she just appears and she kills. Well, she doesn't really kill Elphaba. She just throws the bucket at Elphaba at the end, and then we're supposed to like, oh, she's the hero of the story, but she never gets mentioned ever again. That's confusing because it's like, oh, we don't see her, and then she just recruits the Tin Man, Scarecrow, and the Coward Lion.
We never see any semblance of Fiero's reaction to him being a scarecrow because we're just expected to remember the Wizard of Oz. It doesn't work. It doesn't work because in the Wizard of Oz, the Scarecrow is a completely different guy. Why?
It's mad.
They
don't even show that.
Elphaba's motivation in the final act becomes that she wants her shoes back. But that's not at all in line with the character that we know. They're just trying to shoehorn the Wizard of Oz, shoehorn it in.
She's fighting for the animals and saying, your wizard's evil, but she's going after shoes! Shoes! I don't understand. What do they mean by this? Oh, do not fight for everybody. Go for shoes. I'm sorry, what? And then, actually, I want to sacrifice myself for the greater good at the end. Yeah, bye guys. And that's it. It's just like, excuse me, part what? There was something there that was building up.
Just wait. No, John. Just wait for part 3. It'll all make sense when part 3 happens. They're going to call it Wicked Messiah. And it's going to be about Elphaba becomes this godlike being. Genuinely.
And then she causes the Holy War and everything. So
yes. Yeah. Oh, God. Crossover.
Wow.
It's the scene at the end when Elphaba and Fiero walk off into the CGI desert. And you just kind of think to yourself, wow, they've got a brilliant life ahead of them. He's made out of straw. She's green, and they're in the CGI expanse of nothingness.
Oh, can I just say something as well? We already seen
Yes.
that shot of them walking through the desert earlier in
Yes,
the
we
film.
see it earlier. Yeah. She gets a
And I'm like,
vision.
what's the point of that?
I
That
don't
kind of
know.
bothered me.
I
I
don't
don't know.
know. She has a song, so they add a couple new songs in this
A
one.
song?
One one is where she sings to the animals about how there's no place like home. You shouldn't leave Oz. I thought that was a fine song. It's not necessarily a banger. It was fine. I liked it. I liked the scene well enough. I thought it was a good idea to bring back the bear and expand upon the animals in this film, which the second half of the musical doesn't do. It's interesting that she sings that song and then later on is like, I'll leave though. I'll do it. I'll be the scapegoat. I think that's very in line with her character. And Glinda gets her own song as well, which is called The Girl in the Bubble. That was also fine. None of the songs in this one come close to the songs in the original. There are some good songs. As Long as You're Mine, which is the song that Elphaba and Fiyero sing to each other. That's a great song. For Good is a great song. Thank Goodness, wonderful. But they also do a lot of tweaking the songs from the musical. They add a lot of extra lines and extra stuff. In theory, I don't mind that, but they do a lot of just repeating the lines and the motifs from the first film. There's recaps of Defying Gravity and Dancing Through Life and The Wizard and I, literally word for word. And you just think to yourself, why? I was just a little bit confused the whole time because in the first half they spend so much time recapping stuff that we already know rather than continuing on. I think that was a little bit of a disservice to the audience.
Yeah, because it was going back and forth, really. It was just
Yeah.
like, are we progressing to the story or are we just going back to stuff that we already knew?
Genuinely, the best thing I think about this film is the final, like, 20 minutes. Everything from For Good, they just nail it. I think a lot of people will come out of this film liking it quite a lot because it ends on such a high note, similar to the first film. The shot with Glinda on one side of the door, Elphaba on the other side of the door, and they're crying. They shoot that so well. The unfurling of the narrative, and then at the end when they do Summer Nights from Greece and they crossfade Elphaba and Glinda, singing on the opposite sides of Oz. It's kind of brilliant. They just nail it and they get the emotions bang on. The performances are great. I have no notes there. That stuff's really good and some of the songs are still really good and this film is less than the sum of its parts. But there's still good stuff. There's still magic in there, just a little bit.
Yeah, I'd say so as well at the final bit. It does give it a kick at the end, like, oh, this
A kick up the
yes.
ass. Yeah.
Kick up the ass. That's good. And I wish they could have fixed some of the story, like to make it really important. And then I don't know, it was just felt a bit of a mess for me. But the end definitely felt like I'm not saying I'm happy because it ended. I'm just happy that there was some
When the
sort of
credits
like,
rolled, you were like, thank God for that.
thank God for that. I'm done. Yeah. Oh yeah, and Jeff Goldblum. That's one thing I miss as well. Is Jeff Goldblum saying the advert, for cinema, like come to the
Oh,
foyer,
yeah. Come
foyer,
to the
the foyer,
foyer. Yeah.
foyer.
Yeah, the
Um,
marketing hasn't been as good this year.
no.
I've missed some of that. It hasn't seemed to be as iconic in the marketing. And I think that
Hmm.
it matches the fact that this film isn't as fun and it's not getting as good reviews. And that kind of breaks my heart because I don't care if I don't like a film. I want everyone to like this. But if people aren't liking this, then that does make me a bit sad. I hate not liking things. But I think the final thing we must address, the two Wicked films. Do you have a
Yes.
favorite?
I prefer part one, really. There's a lot of emotional beats that I feel connected with. Like, there's some amazing sequences that I thought, especially at the end. And yeah, I don't think the songs were as impactful in part two. It just didn't have that oomph to make me feel I'm about to cry for these characters.
Yeah. I cried at the trailer for Good. I thought I was gonna bawl at this film. I did not.
Damn.
Dry eyes over here.
No, the wild robot is going to come back after
Yes, well
you
that's
reveal
that's the
emotional
real
beats.
one. So between the stage play and the two films.
That's I do have conflicts with the stage production, but then there's some things that the movies fix. There's some really good stuff in part one. You know what? I'm gonna say I think part one I think is a better musical.
I think I agree. Even though part two isn't great, the films as a whole I think are better than the stage play simply because they expand that narrative so much and the ways that the stage show feels overstuffed. The films don't feel as overstuffed. They're still definitely overstuffed, but hey
It was way
ho.
overstuffed and stretched. So
Yeah. But it's done now. It's there, it's
it's
out
done now.
there,
Wicked for
and
good. It's for finished. So
yeah, it's for finished. Who can
for
say if
finished.
I've been changed for the better because I
I've
watched
been changed for good.
5 hours of this in the cinema? Oh boy.
How
Um,
did you feel as you walked out after watching
I
5 hours
was
of Wicked?
I was so annoyed. I just had so many grievances, and on the way home, me and my partner were just chatting away, debating hotly about what worked and what didn't. But yeah, what are you gonna give it out of 10?
For this movie,
For part two, yeah.
For part two, a 5 or 4. I'm gonna stick with 5 because
Okay.
there was some good stuff in there, but overall, I just feel a bit like I'm struggling with it. So it's there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this has been a very negative video, but I agree with you. I think it's probably a 5 out of 10. There are definitely positives, and we've definitely underplayed them, but even still. And now, yeah, like, why not? What would you give both parts together out of 10?
Honestly, now seeing it as a whole, maybe 6 or 7.
I agree. I think maybe like a 6, probably. Which is funny because when I watched the stage show, I said that was a 6 out of 10. So maybe the films and the stage show are the same. Who knows?
Oh my God! Coincidentally, yeah.
Thank you everybody for listening. If you're listening on YouTube and you enjoyed it, you can like and subscribe if you want to see more. And if you're listening on Spotify or Apple, you can follow and give us a 5-star review if you think we're worthy. And next week, John, it's time to wake up, dead man. It's time to wake up, dead man. It's wake up, dead man.
Am I dead?
Yeah, you're the dead man. You gotta
No,
wake up.
I will place Josh Brolin then, just like in the movie. Oh my God.
Yes, we got to see it at the cinema. I'm very
Yay.
excited.
Very excited.
And you can send us an email, outsignfunpod@gmail.com. Let us know your thoughts on Wake Up Dead Man, and we'll answer it right here in the podcast next week.
Yeah, so you can follow us on Instagram at Out of Time Film Pod to see our incredible thumbnails from Zain, on Twitter for more thoughts from Tom and me, and TikTok to see edited clips, which are all also on Instagram, Reels, and YouTube Shorts. And you can find links to that all in the description below. Thanks to Elle for the excellent theme, and Ronan for vocals as always. And I think that's everything. Take away given.
Give nothing back.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.